Welcome to the Anka Pilot YouTube channel. The entire Middle East region continues to boil like a witch's cauldron tonight. It was reported that the US-led coalition forces began their 12th round of strikes against the Houthis in Yemen with heavy bombardment. This was followed by what was described as the second phase of the 12th round of attacks by the US and UK forces. Let us now look at the most dramatic details of the wave of combined attacks launched by us and UK forces against Houthi targets in a joint operation. Tonight, the US and UK launched attacks on Houthi targets in Yemen from air and surface assets, including fighter jets, according to two US officials. At least 36 targets were hit in at least 13 different places. The major bombing attacks featured a squadron of US F-18 Hornets and 4 UK Typhoon jets. The resources targeted by US airstrikes included multiple underground storage sites, command and control missile systems, drone storage and operational sites, radars and helicopters. According to one official, the underground weapons storage site included firearms used by the Houthis target international commerce channels and Iranian units. But one of the most critical targets was the airfield sector in Sa'ana. This is where the Houthis had their most important military supplies. The US airstrikes in Iran apparently struck multiple Houthi military trucks, but these trucks were carrying a big number of missiles, which is why the scale. The strikes were so severe that there were repeated explosions at the airbase. Following the explosions, many missiles and military ammunition exploded, causing more violent explosions in the area. In other words, the airbase in Santa had turned into hell. Among the targets destroyed at the airbase were allegedly Soviet-era Mi-17 helicopters, which the Houthis used to land civilian oil and transport ships. Houthi fighter jets were also known to be present at the Santa airbase. If you remember, the Houthis flew a Soviet-era MiG-29 fighter jet and a Northrop F-5 Tiger fighter jet over the capital S during a military parade this year. These planes were still at the S airbase in recent days, so it is quite possible that the US airstrikes have damaged. In addition to the casualties at the SAA air base, the coastal provinces of Houda and Hadja, where the Houthis have been launching attacks on merchant ships, were also reportedly hit. The port of Houda was also targeted in the previous operation of the 12th US airstrikes. In the previous strike operation in the port, 10 Houthi UAVs were destroyed. An EHA launch pad was reportedly destroyed in the port of Hadja in Hadja. A big number of Houthi military resources were also apparently destroyed. In short, the 12th US air attacks have been a highly costly loss for the Houthis. So, in total, what type of damage did the Houthis face following the US airstrikes in the region? So far, US airstrikes have destroyed 100 UAVs and 1 USV vehicle. Among the targets removed, the Houthis lost 3 speedboats, 28 anti-ship ballistic missile launch positions, and 14 drone launch sites, 1 SAM surface-to-air missile, and more than 1 radar site. In total, over 21 offensive-ready missiles are also reported to have been destroyed in US airstrikes on the Houthis in Yemen. When we take into account the Houthi military resources destroyed in the aftermath of the current strikes, a grim picture emerges for the Iranian-backed group. Bahrain, Canada, Denmark, the Netherlands, and New Zealand, Bahrain, Australia, Bahrain, Canada, Denmark, the Netherlands, and New Zealand stated that our goal remains to de-escalate tensions and restore calm in the Red Sea. But we must reinforce our caution. Houthi leaders, we will not hesitate to continue to preserve lives and the free movement of trade along one of the world's most crucial rivers. Face ongoing threats. 2 US destroyers fired Tomahawk missiles as part of strikes against Houthi targets in Yemen, while the Arleigh Burke-class guided missile destroyers USS Gravely and USS Carney fired cruise missiles for ground attack during the operation, according to a US official. FA-18 fighter jets from the aircraft carrier USS Dwight D. Eisenhower also participated in the strikes. Officials reported before dawn the previous day the U.S. intercepted 6 Houthi anti-ship cruise missiles before they were launched toward the Red Sea. U.S. Central Command stated that the strikes occurred in consecutive days when the Biden administration began multi-layered response to last weekend's drone strike that killed 3 U.S. soldiers and wounded scores of others seeking to avoid a regional war with Taiwan. The U.S. did not target Iran directly. Instead, it went after its most powerful proxies in the region. According to U.S. officials, this is an indirect way of trying to send a message to the Iranian leadership, which is increasingly alarmed by the actions of some of the organizations it supports. Iran finances, arms, and supplies. These, the bombings in Yemen, unlike those in Iraq and Syria, are a response to the Houthis' continuous attacks on international maritime channels and U.S. warships in the Red Sea. U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin stated that the current strikes are focused. Furthermore, by disrupting and diminishing the capacities of the Houthi militias, this collective effort sends a strong message to the Houthis that they will continue to suffer further consequences if they do not stop their illegal attacks. On foreign maritime and naval boats, we will not hesitate to defend life and free flow of trade in one of the world's most crucial rivers. According to 2 senior administration officials, President Joe Biden approved Saturday's strikes earlier this week, emphasizing that the U.S. did not want to exacerbate tensions and that the strikers were a direct response to the Houthis' actions. President Joe Biden admitted last month that previous operations against the Houthis had not deterred the rebel group, but made it clear that the attacks would continue. Meanwhile, Mohammed al-Bukhti, a senior member of the Houthi Political Council, said in a statement that the U.S.-led coalition's bombing of parts of Yemen will not change our position, and we confirm that our military operations against Israel will continue until the genocidal crimes in Gaza are stopped and the blockade on Gaza's residents is lifted, no matter what the sacrifices. On Friday, the U.S. launched separate unilateral jets struck about 85 targets, including command and control centers, intelligence centers, and weapons installations. We believe the strikes were successful. National Security Council spokesman John Kirby stated after the operation, although the Biden administration has vowed more action against Iranian groups in Iraq and Syria. U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin stated that neither the White House nor the Pentagon will specify when the further steps of the response will take place. Almost exactly 24 hours after the United States launched strikes on targets in Iraq and Syria. The Yemen's last-ditch strikes are the third in recent weeks, following the U.S. and U.K. attacks on hot targets as part of a combined operation on January 11th. Less than 2 weeks after the 2 armies attacked roughly 30 Houthi installations, the United States and Britain launched earlier assaults on 8 more locations, targeting Houthi weapons storage facilities and radar stations in an attempt to disrupt Iran. Thank you.